You have questions, I have answers. Well, you're in luck. It is time for another award-winning mailbag segment here on Seahawks Today. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. And you may be wondering, how do I get involved in these mailbag segments? Well, here's how. If you subscribe to the channel, then you would know exactly when we go live each and every week. And you can send in your questions to the live chat, and I'll respond to them on our live shows. So, do yourself a favor. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. If you love your Seattle Seahawks, you want daily news and rumor segments, mailbags, live shows, watch parties, and more, this is the place to be, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. First question comes from Saigon, $5 super chat. Fix the freaking defense and take this shot. You know what? I know we're in the middle of the mailbag segment. I usually save this for later, but Saigon, you have such a point that I'm going to go ahead and take this shot right now in the middle of the mailbag segment. Look, yes, this defense, it looked pretty good there for, the stretch when they were on that win streak. The defense looked like they had turned things around. And then this past week against the Raiders was 2 steps in the wrong direction. Here's a shot to you, Saigon. Go Seahawks. But you looked at this Seahawks team. And for me, the thing that with this group, the fact that they were not able to stop the run the way that they did. I mean, to me, that was just insane to see Josh Jacobs and company run all over this Seahawks defense the way they did. I mean, that's some serious issues here. And I know that they brought in Johnathan Abram this week, and that was nice. I thought that was a good signing. But the issues, here's what I'm afraid of. The issues are bigger than anything you can do at this point in the season right now. You kind of are who you are, and they're just going to have to play through it and kind of figure it out. I think the glaring weaknesses, the bigger issues, probably can't be solved to the offseason, which is unfortunate, but kind of is what it is. Thanks for the super chat, Saigon. Lewis writes, #Seahawks, our offense got over 300-plus yards. Our defense gave up almost 600 yards. D-line helped all day. Yeah. Almost 600 yards. Just nuts. And against a bad Raider team. That's the thing that just confused me, was the fact that they did this, against a bad Raider team. It would have been one thing if you would have told me, yeah, they're going to give up those statistics against the Chiefs or even the 49ers for that matter. But the Raiders? They did that against the Raiders. To me, that was unacceptable. The D-line needs help. But like I said with Saigon earlier, I'm afraid that the issues aren't going to be solved here this season, that this is going to be a problem that gets delayed. $5 super chat from Ashley. Which defensive lineman would be your ideal person to get for the Seahawks? What are we talking? We talking draft, or are we talking when it comes to free agency? As I get this shot ready here for you. Ashley, cheers to you. But when I look at for next year, the thing that's going to be interesting for this Seahawks team, and I'll move my fireball out of the way, is that I think when you get past the secondary and past Jordan Brooks, about anything is up for grabs potentially when it comes to fixing this defense and trying to find players here. I know that we've talked about a lot about Will Anderson. He's an outside linebacker, though, so, not necessarily defensive lineman. But, Geno Carter could be an option. Jalen Carter could be an option potentially out of Georgia. Very fine football player if you're looking through the draft potentially. When it comes to free agents and all that, I would say this. I would prefer to build through the draft because you're already building your foundation and it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. This is going to be a young team going forward potentially. And so with that, that's what I'm looking for. I don't know if I have an ideal fit necessarily. I mean, maybe Miles Murphy out of Clemson potentially. Brian Breesy out of Clemson is another name as well, but I think it might be too soon to be saying this guy is the ideal perfect fit. But nonetheless, that's what I'd prefer is guys in the draft as far as I'm concerned. Next question. A-Train writes, if the Patriots bring back Tom Brady, should the Seahawks consider trading for Mac Jones? Whoa. Did I just get that question? Somebody's asking if the Seahawks should trade for Mac Jones? Okay, so there was a story from the Unathletic that came out this week that the Patriots are considering bringing back Tom Brady and that there might be a reunion of sorts between Belichick and Brady, and that would cause them to trade Mac Jones. So let's all put this kind of together here, okay? We're saying that in order for this to happen, the Patriots have to say no to Mac and then bring in Brady both, and then the Seahawks have to also be interested in a quarterback at that point. Look, Bill Belichick is the greatest to ever do it, and I hate to admit that. He has done a terrific job, and if Bill Belichick gives up on Mac Jones, then I'll probably give up on Mac Jones too. I would say this much, that when it comes to Mac Jones, I think he's a talented football player. He could have a very bright future in this league and looks really good against the Vikings on Thanksgiving night. But there's certain guys that you point to and you say, if it didn't work here, why would it work here? And so for me, no, I would not trade for Mac Jones if he can't play with Bill Belichick. Now, if it were a situation where he was playing for a bad team and had, a bad situation, then yeah, that'd be different. But if you can't play with Belichick, probably can't play with Pete Carroll either. So I would not trade for Mac Jones if Bill Belichick gives up on him. What say you, though? Let me know in the comments section. Type HY for hell yes if you trade for Mac Jones. Type HN for hell no if you wouldn't trade for Mac Jones. How are you feeling about the idea? Mac Jones in Seattle? Okay. Let me know what you think. Caston with Ashton writes, do you think the Seahawks have a shot at the number one pick through Denver? So I read something that ESPN's FPI projection shows the Seahawks having the number 2 pick through Denver at this point. And there's a lot of bad teams in the league this year. I mean, you're talking about, the Texans, the Carolina Panthers, the Broncos, the Steelers. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could potentially be competing for that number 1 pick. And I'll say this. Here's the thing I would watch for that gives the Seahawks the best chance potentially to get that number 1 pick from Denver is if they shut down Russell Wilson. And they very well could. They could get to a point in the year where they shut down Russ, but the Texans are so bad, and they've already benched, their star quarterback, Dory Davis-Mills, at this point. I mean, I think the 1 might be a reach, but I can tell you this much at this point in time, it's going to be a very good pick. So Caston with Ashland, the 1 would be cool, sure, but don't get your hopes up. Let me put it that way. I would say that at best it's 2. Realistically, it's somewhere between probably 4 and 7, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Yasher writes in, hashtag Seahawks, hashtag Papa Jones. Have teams figured out how to stop Kenneth Walker III? I wouldn't say so. I think the offensive line just hasn't come through, hasn't done its job. Although Kenneth Walker isn't completely blameless, I think he's made some mistakes. I mean, I'm still picturing in the back of my mind about him running backwards the other day. That wasn't good. But I wouldn't say they've necessarily figured him out. It's just been some bad matchups. You look at the last 2 games, and, against Vegas, he still had 2 touchdown runs. The game against Tampa was pretty pitiful. I mean, the team rushing yards, here's where I would say I wouldn't blame Walker here, is because it's not like anyone else did better. It's not like Travis Homer or DJ Dallas came in and just put up better numbers. I mean, it's an issue with the offensive line here, okay? So, yes, Kenneth Walker has some work to do. I think they'll turn things around, but this is not solely on Walker as far as I'm concerned at all. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, use the promo code Seahawks125, you'll get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. You can bet on the NFL, the NBA, the World Cup, college football, whatever you're feeling, chatsports.com/bet's the place to be. 125% deposit bonus. Promo code Seahawks125 at checkout to get your bets in now. All right, next question comes in. This draft focus on D-line, center/guard, outside linebacker, secondary, Spencer Rattler available in later round. Take him, #Seahawks, Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. All of that I agree with, except the Spencer Rattler part. I am around the family of Oklahoma fans, and I've seen probably more Spencer Rattler football than I ever should, than anyone ever should, as far as I'm concerned. And I know that Spencer Rattler has had his moments, the Tennessee win, the Clemson win, but Spencer Rattler is not an NFL quarterback. Get that out of your head. Spencer Rattler is not that guy. What's the meme, whatever? I mean, you're not that guy. You're not that guy. Spencer Rattler, NFL quarterback? Nah, not that guy. He's too frantic, makes way too many mistakes. He's way too careless with the football. I want to touch him with a 10-foot pole, personally. I don't care if he's available in later rounds or not. In fact, I expect him to come back to South Carolina next year when it's all said and done. So all of that I like, except the Spencer Rattler part. Next question comes in. Do you expect Johnathan Abram to be an instant starter? No, I don't. I think that Ryan Neal, we've seen him and Josh Jones, both those guys kind of fill the void. Ever since we saw Jamal Adams go down. In actuality, as excited as I am about Johnathan Abram joining this roster, for him, after getting waived twice this month, being on his third team in the month of November, his number one goal is just to get a roster spot, just to hold on to one of the 53-man roster spots. Obviously, he gets on it. When you claim a guy off waivers, you can't claim him to be on your practice squad. I think that's the number one goal for Johnathan Abram. Just hold on to the roster spot. Starting, maybe we have that discussion down the line, but right now, I don't think so. Temper writes in, was it a mistake by the Seahawks to cut Bobby Wagner? So the nerds at Pro Football Focus the other day, I was looking at their rankings of linebackers, and Bobby was ranked number 1 in the NFL. Jordan Brooks was ranked 50th. Now, Brooks leads the NFL in tackles, but Bobby's having a heck of a year. Now, it'll be interesting this weekend with Bobby coming back to Seattle for the very first time and all of that, how the hoorah is, and letting him go to a division rival by releasing him. He signed with the Rams, but obviously the Rams are having a bad year in all of that. I wouldn't say it was a mistake because the Seahawks saved money and they were starting to build for their future, but it certainly did hurt. I don't know if Bobby Wagner is going to continue to play at this level for the next couple of years. That remains to be seen, but I think if you had to ask Pete Carroll and John Schneider if they do it all over again, I think they'd do it the exact same way. I think they would have cut Bobby Wagner again. What say you, though? Should the Seahawks have kept Bobby Wagner? If you think they should have, type K for keep. If you think they made the right move and let go, type L for let go. Let me know, should the Seahawks have kept Bobby Wagner or not? K for kept, L for let go. Let me know in the comments section below. Keaton writes, #Seahawks, if, or probably, we get a top 3 pick. Should we pick a QB like Stroud or D-line like Anderson or Carter? I have said this before. I will reiterate once again. If Will Anderson is available, doesn't matter the quarterback situation, you take Will Anderson. But if you are Pete Carroll and John Schneider and you fall in love with a guy like Stroud or Bryce Young, then I think you certainly consider taking one of those guys. But what Geno has done is he has bought the Seahawks time, okay? We talked about the quarterback situation, some of those guys this upcoming draft. And we talked about that, earlier on. And when I look at those guys, there's some talent. It's a better class than last year. But I like Caleb Williams next year more than I do any of these guys this year. So with that said, you don't have to, but I'm not completely opposed to it. We'll put it that way. Thanks for the question. Join us for our watch party coming up on Sunday. The Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. We'll get started about 30 minutes prior to kickoff. And then we'll get right into the game and react to it in real time. We'll answer your questions and do our live postgame mailbag. All of that and more. You don't want to miss it. Seahawks and Rams coming up on Sunday. Coverage begins 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Kickoff at 4:05 Eastern. Be there or be square. King wants to know, what quarterback would we draft with the Broncos pick? It's, for me, either C.J. Stroud or it's Bryce Young. Those are the two guys. Will Levis, I don't see as somebody that the Seahawks are probably going to take, but these are the top 5 guys according to Todd McShay. I think it's one of those two personally, but we'll see how it all plays out. Those will be the options at this point. Bryce Young is my favorite. I liked C.J. Stroud a lot early on, but I don't like the way that he finished the 2022 campaign. Bryce Young carried that Bama team. I thought that was a big difference between the two. Last question from Dat Fat Rat writes in, if Jamal Adams were to let go or retire from injuries, could Abram be able to step up to that strong safety spot if he does good the rest of the season? Yeah, he'll have an opportunity to prove himself. He certainly could. We'll see. But Johnathan Abram's already been cut twice this year, so don't get your hopes up on that, but we'll see. Thanks for joining us here on another Seahawks Today Mailbag. We'll see you next time.